your home or to grow some food. It could come down to that kind of a decision one day. So you want to put a sweater on, or you want to have some corn? I don't know. Take your pick. But one day we have to remember that personal ability is not necessarily equal to freedom. We think of that today, but if you go back 100 years, it was slightly different. And I'm going to show you something which I found, which is quite wonderful. The New York Public Library, here is a horseless carriage getting a ticket from a bicycle policeman. Now, he's getting a ticket because he exceeded the speed limit in New York at that time, which I think was about 20 miles an hour. It's about the same as it is today, actually. 20 miles an hour, because that was about as fast as a horse could trot. And that was the speed limit. A different context. In North America, there were 144 miles of paved road 100 years ago. I think you can find that between here and the... Anyway, 100 years ago, there was the Studebaker Company out of the Midwest of the United States, Indiana, making horseless carriages. Quite wonderful. And in this advertisement, they were advertising their cars, and you could have your choice of engine 100 years ago. It could be the electric, or it could be gasoline. Take your pick. Because of course, you would want an electric car for city and suburban driving, and you would want a gasoline car for distance driving. Why would you have it any other way? It seems like we've forgotten a lot in 100 years. We've forgotten a lot of the differences, the things which we once knew that will again come back. There are an awful lot of things that we take for granted today as normal, which are truly luxuries. And I think we all have to take a look at our lives and the things that we design and think about what is a luxury and what is normal. Talk to your elders in your community. Ask them what life was like when they were your age. Number one, it's good for both of you to do that. But number two, try to understand a little bit more how our lives have changed in the built environment, and that is our focus, the built environment. Think of what has changed in this short period of time. Because your choices matter. All of us vote on what we believe every single day by what we buy. That is one of the biggest powers that we have, is how we buy stuff. What you specify, how you act through our own personal decisions every single day. All right? Your choices matter. Make choices wisely. Reduce, reduce, reduce. Try to think every day how you can reduce your impact. I challenge all of you to understand how much energy, how much water you use. How many of you ever looked at your kilowatt consumption? Do you know what your personal impact is? If you don't know, how can you change it? You know that turning the water off when you brush your teeth is a good thing, but how much difference does it make? Do you know? Well, find out. Make it your own mission to find out what your pattern of living on the planet is, so then you can then change it. Try to set that factor 10 once you know what they are. Make targets for yourself, for your designs, for what we're doing each and every day, each and every month, each and every year. And it's not easy. It's easy for me to stand up here and say this. I'm not perfect. None of us are. That's part of being a human. We're not perfect. But we can make steps to try to get to this reduction of our impact. We have to walk the walk. We have heard that we are 50% of the problem. Wouldn't it be great if in a few years from now that pie chart was different? And you could say that you played a role in the reduction of our profession's impact? That's great. Because when you look at waste, there's no such thing as waste. It's all misallocated resource. Because we only have one planet. We can't afford to throw anything anywhere. We've got to use it all. I was talking to John Chambers at an event not too long ago, and we were talking, and he said, specifically about sustainability, he said his daughter asked him, you have to ask you, if your son or daughter would say to you, say, Dad, what are you doing about global warming? Right? Ooh. If your kid asks you that, your grandchild, a friend, say, what are you doing? Right? And all of a sudden you kind of go, well, I don't really have a good answer to that one, Susan, sorry. Right? Well, think about that. What would you say? How would you answer that question? How would any of us answer that question? Okay, my final 2 slides. Here's Edward the bear coming downstairs now, bump, bump, bump on the back of his head behind Christopher Robin. It is, as far as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs. But sometimes he feels that there really is another way, if he could just stop bumping for a moment and think of it. We have become so good at bumping. All of us, truly. Today is a pause in that bumping down the stairs. We can't continue to keep bumping down the stairs. That business as usual is not acceptable, nor was it acceptable for Winnie the Pooh. We have the luxury of stopping for a moment to think about it. We have that luxury. We don't have to get dragged down the stairs. Because each one of us is like these little droplets of water on this little fern in my garden. Each one of us are little sacks of water on this planet, separate from each other, individual. And just as those little drops of water on there, it can evaporate into the sun and go back into the hydrological cycle, or a bit of energy can come in, disturb that leaf a little bit, and those little droplets flow together, and they go down and they give some nourishment to that plant, and then the water goes back into the hydrological cycle after having made a difference to that plant. We can also make a difference. And this is a bit of what this imperative is about, is that energy to disturb the system to work together to make that difference. And with that, I will say thank you very, very much, and I look forward to your questions and your challenges.